developing. Now, in the midst of all this activity, we've also developed this brand new program that we're going to be launching today, the SPACE program. Now, you might be thinking, really? Another Signum program? I mean, that's like three new programs in the last 2 years, right? And I understand. I understand if maybe you're thinking that, right? If maybe you're thinking, okay, they used to have this MA program, right? And then, and you know, they had the MA program and the Mythgard stuff going on, and then, Olsen went insane, right? And now they have all of these programs that are just like popping up all over the place. So I get that. I understand how it can kind of look like that. And I sort of suspect that many people look at our programs kind of like this, right? It's like so what I'm showing here is a row of boxes, identical sized boxes, which just sort of list our programs, the MA program, our PATH program, clubs, the undergrad program to come, and our Mythgard Institute programs. And now we're just going to add another box to this row, right, called SPACE. And it might seem like, okay, like, do we really, like, it's just like this kind of marching series of programs, this like a mere proliferation. I've had people say, like, shouldn't you maybe focus on like doing one thing really well instead of just like doing bunches and bunches of programs? What's going on here? Oh, and anyway, here's another thing I've gotten. Aren't you guys supposed to be a university, right? Like higher education? Why are you doing all this other stuff, right? Kids programs, and now you're getting into adult education, adult continuing education. Like, why not focus? If you're a university, why not focus on university stuff, right? And I get that. I get it. I understand. But there are two things that I would say to this. The first thing I would say is, yes, we are a university. We are a university, and we aim to change the world of higher education, right? We are setting out to break the mold of traditional higher education. Our graduate program is already showing the way there, right? Demonstrating that our new model of affordable, highly engaged online education works, right? It works. It's viable and it's sustainable. It's been going for 10 years and it's been growing and it's been excellent, and we've had excellent results, right? So, and of course, our undergraduate program, oh man, we have big plans, right? For our undergraduate program, big plans to change not just the tuition model, right? I mean, for us, that's like a given, right? That we're going to change the tuition model and we're going to bring everything way down from traditional undergraduate tuition levels. But we're not just going to do that. We're changing the very parameters and approaches to undergraduate degree programs, right? Right now, undergraduate degree programs are, locked in this narrow path, right? Like the 4-year degree program, ye old bachelor's degree. And I do not believe that ye old bachelor's degree is the way that things are going to need to be in the future. I don't think that puts people in the best opportunity, it gives people the best opportunity to succeed personally. So I don't think it's the best thing for our students. And I don't think that it is, and I certainly don't think that it fulfills the potential of what an undergraduate program can offer to people. Now, we are going to offer a bachelor's degree. That's going to happen, but it's going to be so much more than just that. So like I said, we are absolutely looking to change the paradigm. We have changed the paradigm. It's going to be exciting to watch over the next 3 to 5 years what we do with our higher education programs at Signum University. So yeah, we're a university. Yeah, we're doing the higher education thing. But that's not the only way in which we aim to change the educational world. Our educational model is oriented on a completely different axis. Let me explain what I mean. Let me show you what I mean here. Here's a little visualization of how traditional higher education works. Traditional higher education works in a horizontal model, right? So on my little graph here, across the x-axis along the bottom, we've got different subjects, right? And on the y-axis is the age of students, sort of age groups of students, okay? Now, of course, obviously there are outliers and exceptions. That's always true, right? But this is kind of the broad stroke, right, of what universities focus on. And generally, higher education does two things, right? A university does two things. They do undergraduate education and they do graduate education. So the dark but thinner bar here is the undergraduate education, right? And it's thin because remember the y-axis, the vertical axis is age. So generally it's catering to traditional aged undergrad. And again, I know there are exceptions, non-traditional undergrads and all that kind of thing. But again, in general, the standard traditional higher education template is established for those 18 to 22-year-olds who are doing undergraduate. Now, graduate programs serve students in a broader age range, right? People are doing graduate programs, often in the decade or two following undergraduate at various different points and stages. But that's also a much, much lower population, right? So it's a broader band, but it's fuzzier, right? It serves a much lesser population. Now, of course, they focus on doing this broadly, horizontally, right? Across lots and lots of disciplines. So you go to your traditional, big box university on campus and you'll get, you do all the, you've got the tons and tons of programs, right? In sciences, in maths, in social sciences. By professional careers, I mean things like law and business, and not to mention all of the like professional sort of certifications and things that you can get. You can major in all kinds of very career specific things, right? That aren't really traditional academic disciplines at all. So anyway, you can do all those things, just this huge array of programs, but it's all focused at this relatively either thin band or kind of diffuse band, right, of graduate and undergraduate programs. And again, I don't mean any criticism on this. This is great stuff, right? Great stuff that they do. But the thing that I want to point out here, is the emptiness at the bottom and at the top. Traditional higher education does very little for people under the age of 18, and it does very little for people over the age of 35 to 40, something like that. That's not where the focus of traditional higher education is. So it's horizontal, it's broad, but it's not thick in that way. Signum University's approach is fundamentally different. In fact, it's 90 degrees rotated from this. Signum University has a vertical model, not a horizontal model. Now, we don't have the breadth. We are focused on a niche. Now, our niche has expanded, has grown a little bit organically over time. When we started, our niche was Tolkien studies, right? Which is a pretty specific niche, right? A very, very the focus on the study of one single author within literary studies. That's a very, very narrow niche for an entire university, right? But we expanded from Tolkien study. Again, it was an organic expansion as student interest grew and demand for courses developed. We expanded from just Tolkien studies to imaginative lit, that is fantasy and science fiction, to classical, medieval, and Renaissance literature. And of course, also to Germanic philology, which a lot of people are like, that seems kind of random. And I'm like, you're not a Tolkien fan, are you? If you were a Tolkien fan, the propinquity of Germanic philology to Tolkien studies would make perfect sense to you. But anyway, So it's grown in that way. And now, as I was explaining last year, we want to expand out even more, especially through the launching of our undergraduate program, when that happens in the fullness of time, to a broader study of the humanities as a whole. That seems like a really big step. But again, when we look at this, it's still very narrow compared to the scope of most universities, right? We're not doing sciences, we're not doing maths, we're not doing social sciences, we're not, teaching you, how to install HVAC equipment or whatever. We're not doing any of that stuff, right? Or how to become an engineer. That's not what we do at Signum University. The humanities is what we do. So we're very narrow, but we are extremely vertical. right? Within that niche, we want to occupy that niche vertically. And so as you can see, the expanding of our programs has been to basically to do all that we can to enrich everybody, right? To stretch that band vertically. Our MA program and our Mythgard programs have had a pretty broad appeal, right? I mean, we start with our MA program after graduation, so you have to have your bachelor's degree in order to start the MA program, right? But we've had MA students. There hasn't been any upward limit. Let me just say, I don't want to name numbers and embarrass anybody. But we have had students of very disparate ages in our MA program, and of course, lots of people participating in Mythgard, even down to high school and below. That has not been restricted, of course, just to the postgraduate world. And we've been kind of digging deeper there too, right? We started our clubs program, as I said, so we have a more focused program now for the under 18 demographic. We have our PATH program, which is really sort of focused on, because that is really focused on developing, career-oriented skills. And so it tends to be focused on, people like, from like late high school age, getting ready to, go off into college or into the job market, on to people who are looking to advance themselves in their career, through the, first half or, 2/3 or whatever of your career trajectory. So and then of course our undergraduate program, we're going to, that's a sort of an outer bracket that we're going to be building. So all of this stuff is kind of what we've been doing to sort of develop that vertically. So when people ask me things like, aren't you supposed to be a university? Why are you doing all this other programs? My answer is, yeah, of course we're a university, and we're just doing it differently, right? Instead of spreading horizontally, we're spreading vertically. And I'm happy with that. Our niche has been an awesome niche. I love our niche, and I'm sticking with it. We have no plans to expand any of these programs, Mythgard, our MA program, undergrad PATH clubs, into these other kinds of, disciplines and trainings at this point. But I think it's very much a part of our educational mission to occupy this niche as fully as we can, and to give as many people as possible opportunities to learn. Now, I have thought for a while, like it looks like we've got this covered pretty well, right? You can see there's even like overlaps and everything. We've got mostly, right, that vertical niche sort of covered, it seems, right? And for a while, I thought this too, right? I thought that, like, okay, I was content for a bit. So I returned to the question. So wait a second. When are you going to get around, you might be thinking, to explaining why we need another program exactly, right? Well, okay, I can explain. Because it's not just yet another box in a row of boxes, right? That's not how our programs work at all. I wanted to start the SPACE program because I came to a realization recently that there's a need in our community that we could fill that we're not filling. Let me show you, because again, it's not these separate boxes. Here's how it really works. Okay. Here's Signum's box of programs, right? Or really another way to think about this box is that this box is like the educational needs or desires, right, of our community, right? This is like all of the folks that we're connected to and what their educational needs are, right? Okay, so the first thing that we did is start our MA program. So how much of this box does our MA program fill in? Not much. Right. I got my tiny little MA program box in the top corner. Now, keep in mind, obviously, our MA program is awesome. The point is, as awesome as our MA program is, it's not for everybody, right? I mean, not everybody needs or wants a master's degree in language and literature. I know to some people that might sound like a crazy thing to say, but I mean, it's true, right? It's like master's study. This is a serious graduate program. And the courses are pretty intense. You're going to work really hard in our master's degree program. It's a graduate program, for crying out loud. And that doesn't meet everybody's needs, right? So that when you take the total number of people in our larger community who are actively engaged in our MA program, I think that my little square in the top right corner here of our big box is actually out of scale. It's too large. It's actually a far smaller percentage of our total community who is actively engaged in our MA program. So that's where we started. But we've been adding programs, right? We added the PATH program. And so the PATH program is a little bit bigger. It's a little bit broad. It's reaching a broader audience, right? It's filling a broader niche. It's still kind of focused though, right? It's just that kind of professional development course. So it's not meeting the educational needs of everybody, but it's a little broader in its application than the MA program. We have Signum Clubs, which is broader yet because it serves a whole swath of people. And, in addition to the clubs we have the ability to add some more clubs there and maybe kind of expand things there. So, we can say maybe clubs is a little bit bigger, but, it's serving, doing a pretty good service to a significant chunk, that, ages 8 to 18 chunk. But still, it's not exactly filling in the whole box, right? Now, our undergraduate program, when it comes, is going to do more, right? That's going to be the sort of broadest program that will have the greatest ability to kind of meet people's educational needs and desires. And it's going to overlap with PATH, and it's going to be kind of surrounding and supporting the MA program, our graduate school. So that's getting there. So, all right, you'll notice we've only got a little bit of blacks. Well, a little bit, maybe like a little more than half filled in, right? But we still got these big empty spaces. But wait a second. What about Mythgard, right? Mythgard, discussions and stuff are open to everybody. Right. So it doesn't cover everything, right? Because Mythgard, I get this all the time. People are always like, hey, you should do more, science fiction or this or that or whatever it is, whatever other people want to do that I am not currently doing and don't have time to do. So it doesn't quite fill in the whole thing. There's a black border around it, but it's open to everybody, right? And we get lots and lots of folks who are able to participate in our Mythgard programs. And so, maybe with Mythgard Miscellany, right, as we kind of expand that box out and cover some more things, maybe we'll fill it all in and everything's going to be fine, right? And we're meeting everybody's potential needs, right? Maybe, right? And again, this is the angle from which I looked at Signum's programs for a while, right? And I was like, okay, right? Now that we have PATH and clubs going on, and we've got our plans for the undergrad program in place, and we have Mythgard running, we're meeting the needs of our community, right? So wait, why do we need the SPACE program? Again, have I answered the question yet? No, not really. Here is the insight that I recently had. Here's the thing, because I was bothered, right? I was still bothered. I'm like, on the one hand, I feel like on paper, we're doing a good job of, covering the needs of our community. And yet I could tell there was still more, right? There was still more. And I realized finally what the problem was. The problem was, as Mr. Spock would have told me all along, I was showing signs of two-dimensional thinking. Because this is what these programs actually look like. If you take our programs and you turn them to the side, you can see there's a lot of empty space in there, right? And in particular, you'll notice that our Mythgard, our largest of all of them boxes, the Mythgard programs, are actually quite thin, right? They are open to everybody. But there's a lot of ways in which they are not really satisfying people's educational needs. They are, for one thing, it's not only just a coverage question, right? Even when we cover more of Mythgard stuff, that is more different, different fandoms and more fantasy and science fiction things, it's still just fantasy and science fiction things. There's much more stuff. There's a whole, that's like one pretty narrow plane, right? In a large, large world of things for people to want to learn. But even more than that, it's also about method as well. My weekly broadcasts, right? People want to be involved more. People want to talk, right? Those of you who are in my Exploring the Lord of the Rings classes on Tuesday nights know that I'm trying to like follow along questions, and you guys are all wanting to like discuss, right? And argue with each other and stuff like that. You want to be part of an, a more full contact, immersive educational experience. And I know that, and I get that. That's why I founded Signum originally, was that I wanted to provide more opportunities for that. So there is so much that we are not, there's all of this empty space. And so in fact, like when I looked at it from this new perspective, what I saw was what seemed to be almost complete coverage, right, of our niche, almost complete coverage of our vertical area there, is actually, we're not even like filling half of the volume of this, right? What we need is a program that's going to fill in the whole cube, right? Not just around the edges of the box seen from a narrow two-dimensional perspective. So that is what the SPACE program is. That's what we are launching here today. That program which is going to fill in the cube and provide opportunities for all other educational, I say all other, maybe it's not all. Maybe there'll be a fourth dimension that I will discover. But I'm really excited about this. The SPACE program, of course, SPACE is an acronym for Signum Portals for Adult Continuing Education. And I'm going to now explain to you how the SPACE program is going to work. So first question, and this is exactly why, so there are two reasons why my theme for the fundraising campaign this year was the final frontier. First, because whenever I say the word space, the first thing everybody says is the final frontier. So I just figured I'd own it. But secondly, because do you see what I mean about the final, why I feel like this is the final frontier? It's that filling in all of the gaps, right? Being able to have the opportunity to meet the needs of everyone in our community, right? Which is really, really exciting. So, the first question that you're going to be asking is, what kind of classes are we offering in the SPACE? What is it? What's it like? So first, our SPACE program is going to be divided into modules. We're going to do a set of modules. So every module is going to be a month long, right? So every month we will have a new set of modules in the SPACE program. So this is our classes, in other words, are going to be a long series of a very short classes. So it's not a big commitment. You're not committing yourself to, a like 3 or 4 month semester. You're just, you can just do 1 month at a time. You can come and go at your own pace, right? Now, during that month, when you're enrolled in a SPACE module, the general template is that you'll do 2 sessions per week for 4 weeks. Those are 1-hour sessions, right? So 2 1-hour sessions a week for 4 weeks, 8 total hours of class time. The classes are small group discussion classes. So you will have a preceptor, your professor, and you will have up to about 12 students in the section with you. More than that, and we will we'll begin looking into launching a second section of it. These are designed to be synchronous, because I know that you can, it's not, when I say we're filling in the gaps of learning, I know that people aren't sitting out there being like, there's no way I can learn anything, right? I'm helpless to learn. Like, of course you're not helpless to learn. You can learn anything you want to learn on YouTube, right? You can, there's lots and lots of places where you can get access to information and learn stuff for free. Totally know that, absolutely acknowledge that, completely encourage that, right? But Signum University was founded on the basic premise that kind of independent learning isn't for everybody. That there are many people who learn much, much better in a classroom environment with fellow students they can talk to, and in that kind of community of accountability, and with a teacher who is able to interact with them and be able to have that kind of a dynamic educational classroom experience. There are a lot of people who just learn a lot better that way. Are you one of these people who have said, I really want to learn another language, and you've tried, Duolingo, and you've tried, many other kinds of online language services, and just haven't gotten anywhere, right? It just hasn't really panned out for you. You haven't completed it, right? It hasn't worked. Well, maybe SPACE is for you, right? SPACE is going to provide you an opportunity, a real supportive classroom environment for you to be able to pursue these things. Now, what kinds of things? Okay, so let me show you. These modules that I'm going to be describing, these are all modules that we're launching in December. So December is going to be our first modules. These modules are all going to be available for December. So this is not theoretical. These are actual modules that we have teachers waiting, ready to precept those modules this coming December, right? So what can you do? Well, maybe you want to start learning a language, as I just mentioned, right? So in December, we will have conversational French, conversational Spanish, introductory Latin 1, Old English 1, and introductory Egyptian hieroglyphics 1. Now, let me just clarify very quickly here. Conversational French and Spanish, those are designed to be immersive, conversation-based classes. So you're not going to have like a textbook you're slogging through. It's going to be focused on comprehension and speech, right? So just developing your actual conversational ability in modern languages. And those are modules that we're going to be able to offer again and again. So if you take a module in conversational French in December, you could continue and take that same module again in January, and then again in February, and continue practicing, right? So there we go. So that's conversational French and Spanish. Now the ones with the numbers, right? Introductory Latin 1, Old English 1, and introductory Egyptian hieroglyphics 1. Those are all going to be serials, right? Because these are going to be, systematically training you in these historical languages, right? So those will be a series of modules. You'll follow up introductory Latin 1 with introductory Latin 2, which will be offered in January, and all that kind of thing. And there will be other opportunities to start it again, or if you need to take a month off, you should be able to come back later to do some more. So that is how that's how those will work. So these are our first 5 modules. Well, no, these are just our beginning language modules. Because wait, there's more. We also have advanced languages. Maybe you've already trained in some of these languages, but you'd like to practice. You'd like to develop it more. Okay, you can also take, we have 2 modules in Latin readings. That is, doing readings of either Cicero's Pro Archia or Catullus's poetry in Latin, right? So that you can be polishing up and practicing your Latin through actual translation and reading original authors in Latin. Or maybe with Old English, right? Maybe you've taken Old English before, right? And you've done some reading, maybe you've done a little Beowulf translation in your past, right? Have some familiarity with Old English. Wouldn't it be great to maintain your Old English, or even brush it up a little bit? So we have 2 different Old English readings modules here. One to read some Old English poetry, which will focus on Judith and Exodus. 2 Bible poems, or you can be working on a translation of the Old English Boethius. Boethius' Consolation of Philosophy. We also have 2 Middle English modules. One on Chaucer. So we'll have one module on the Canterbury Tales, and then another on readings in Middle English before Chaucer, where in particular, what they'll be reading this December is Havelock the Dane. So you can be exploring Middle English, especially the Middle English that came prior to Chaucer. Really, really fun. Now, by the way, one thing I would add here, Canterbury Tales 1, This is not going to be a series in the same way that like Latin and Old English and Egyptian hieroglyphics are going to be, right? Like you really have to have taken the first module before the second module is going to make much sense. This is going to be Canterbury Tales 1 and there's going to be Canterbury Tales 2 in the sense that it's going to be a different module covering a different thing. I think he's going to focus on the Miller's Tale in this module in December. But you don't have to take those in order if you don't want to. Right, you can, but you don't have to. You can kind of take whatever you want to do. Now, again, just to clarify, Cecilia's asking about conversational Spanish 2. There is no 2. It's just conversational Spanish again, because in our conversational language modules, people at like different experience levels can all work together. Like the point is just to be developing everybody's speech, and there's it's a good way to practice your comprehension and your speech to be helping somebody who's more of a beginner than you, right? And anyway, so like everyone will be kind of working together in those. So there's no sequence there. You just repeat the same module and do it as many times as you like to continue developing your conversational skills. So those are our advanced language modules. Oh, but wait, there's more. How about fantasy literature? Would you want to do some fantasy modules? Yeah, we have that too, right? We have a module on The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Discuss The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. We have a wonderful module called Are You Tolkien to Me? That is a module which is going to look at Tolkien's relevance to the modern world. All of the ways in how is it that Tolkien... because I mean, honestly, Tolkien stuff was written a long time ago and in what looks increasingly like a very different world from our own. How is it? Why is it that Tolkien is still so relevant to the modern, why so many people in the modern world find Tolkien still so relevant to them? That's what this module is going to be looking at. Some of the themes and ideas in Tolkien that connect it to our modern world. We've got a module in the Introduction to Hans Christian Andersen's Fairy Tales and a module in Oscar Wilde's Fairy Tales. We have a module focusing on Tolkien's Letters from Father Christmas for December, right? Which seems timely. We're going to have a module on Miyazaki's anime films. The Recovery of Innocence is the theme of this module. And a module called To Repair Arda, Tolkien's Dwarves Through Jewish Mysticism. Tolkien has talked about the connections between his dwarves and the Jews. Is there not, a lot of people just sort of I've in the past focused merely on the linguistic connections, right? And some kinds of historical parallels, diaspora and such. But what if there's actually something, a deeper connection than that? So that module is going to explore that really interesting idea. But wait, there's more. How about other humanities, like more broader humanities class? Oh yeah, we got more humanities modules here. We've got a module on English sonnet readings, right? We're going to do a preview of that one later on tonight. So you can dig into some Renaissance poetry. Really, really fascinating period of poetry. I love the intricacy of sonnets and seeing how that stuff works. We have 2 modules on the history of the symphony if you want to learn more about music and music history. One module on the history of the symphony from the beginnings to Beethoven and another on the history of the symphony after Beethoven. We've got one on how to read a poem. We've got Japanese children's literature, modern British poetry of the 21st century. We've got plague literature, which is kind of topical, and poetry as practical ecology. That is connection between poetry and the land and preserving the world, environmentalism. So we're offering those modules too. Oh, wait. But there's still even more. We also have practical and creative humanities modules. We have 3 different creative writing options if you want to do a creative writing module. We have our creative writing workshop, which is sort of following the normal template. We also have a creative writing module which focuses on developing a 1-month story, like maybe you like to think in NaNoWriMo kind of ways, right? And you want to think about developing a story. How do you develop a story in 1 month? And we've got an opportunity to do an intensive weekend creative writing. So that one is a different time template. Instead of meeting twice a week for 4 weeks, it'll do the entire module in one intensive weekend, really just kind of immersing yourself in a creative writing exercise for a whole weekend. Right, under the guidance of our own Sparrow Alden. We have one on the history of the book arts, looking at alphabets and writing and how sort of the history of books. And we're going to be, and also there's another one on electronic text markup with XML and TEI. So if you are interested in doing some digital humanities, you want to understand how do you go about taking a text and marking it up so that you can do some digital analysis of texts. If you've sort of seen that done and you've been kind of curious, like how do you do this? How could I do this myself? Anyway, we're doing a module on that too. So that is that's all. Every single one of those modules, 32, I believe it is, we are offering for the month of December, right? You can choose among all of those. Now, you might be wondering a few things here. First of all, you know how a lot of times when salesmen are telling you about a new thing and they pump you up and they wait till the very, very end to spring the price on you? I'm going to not do that, right? Let's talk about the price. So first of all, the way that the payment is going to work, the way the tuition is going to work for the SPACE program is you're going to buy tokens, and each one token is basically redeemable for a class. So you're going to buy tokens in advance, right? So you buy 1 token, you buy 3 tokens, you buy 6 tokens, however many tokens you want to buy, right? And then you can use those anytime you want. You can redeem those. So 1 token equals 1 module, and you can cash it in at any time. So this way it's like as flexible as we can possibly make it, right? You've got your tokens and you just cash it in whenever. So you need to take a month off. You don't have to tell anybody. It doesn't matter, right? You just cash them in whenever you want to do that. And here are the rates. We have the price for 1 token is $150. But the price per token decreases steadily if you buy more. So if you buy 6 tokens, you're only paying $100 per. So it's 33% off if you buy 6 of them. So it's only $600 for 6 tokens. This means if you want to do a little comparison, by the way, so 3 tokens will get you 3 modules. 3 modules equals 12 weeks of class. 12 weeks is the length of a Signum semester, right? So now our SPACE modules are much less intense. You don't have to write papers and stuff like that. So it's not at all a one-to-one comparison between our, a set of SPACE modules and one of our MA courses. But it's the length of one of our MA courses, right? So if you take SPACE modules for 12 weeks, it's a total, for 3 tokens, you can get that for $390 compared to our $650, which is our tuition price for our MA program. Again, you're getting much more and it's a much different situation, but you can kind of see how that compares there. And I dare you, look it up. See how much it would cost you to take a course like this at another university to get some of the kinds of things that we're doing here. So that's the price scale. So first you buy your tokens, and you will see on our SPACE. You can go to our webpage and peruse our webpage. Our webpage is signumuniversity.org/space. So you can easily find our website. There are links for purchasing tokens in units of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 at the prices that you see here on the screen. $150, $280, $390, $480, $550, and $600 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 tokens. So first you buy your tokens, and then you can sign up for your modules after that. Now, let me talk for a second about what makes the SPACE program different, because these things are really fun, right? The first thing that makes SPACE different from any traditional program is freedom. SPACE is like perfect and complete freedom. There is no expectation. When you design a degree program, you're always imposing these top-down standards, right? No matter how flexible you want to be, there have to be, of course, we as educators have been trained to say things like, what are the expected outcomes from this program? And how can we clearly articulate the outcomes of those programs? Did I mention we're going through the accreditation process? Anyway, so these are the kinds of things that one always asks with a degree program. With SPACE, you can do anything you want. There is perfect freedom. We impose absolutely we don't even give guidance, right? Because it's not our business. You can take whatever you want to take at whatever rate you want to take it. Learn whatever you're interested in. Learn what you love has been a slogan of Signum University since the first year, I believe, of our program. And never has it been more true than it is of the SPACE program. What this means is that we also want it to be extremely responsive. In other words, we have attempted to build a program that is going to be as student-driven as it is possible to be. In fact, what I've striven for here is to create a system which is going to make this program almost like an on-demand program. Now, it can't be totally on-demand because remember, synchronous classes, right? There are other human beings involved. So you can't it's not like Netflix, right? You can't just go in and start one of these modules at any time. Because again, you can get that kind of stuff anywhere else, right? What you can't get anywhere else, and you can get here, is, as I said, an actual supportive classroom experience. So there are other human beings involved, so there's some coordination that's going to need to happen and some flexibility that's going to be required of everybody. But as I say, my goal is to make it as close to on-demand as possible. That's why we have such a massive list of modules. This is a soft launch, right? I expect that the number of modules we're going to be offering for January, our second month, I would not be surprised a bit if it doubles the total amount of modules that are going to be offered for January, right? So why are we doing it that way? Why do we have all this, and how does it work? Okay, so let me explain. Here's how registration is going to work. Step one, the first stage, which is happening 2 months before, so now in October, right, is going to be, today is the official beginning, we are launching it, of module selection, right? So first you select your modules. So you're going to sign up for SPACE, right? So you look at the modules list and you decide, what's your top choice? Probably the best thing to do would be to go through and say, like, are there multiple ones that I'm interested in, right? So you choose the module you definitely want to take, but you have in mind a couple backups, right? Other things that you might also want to take in case that one doesn't work out. Because here's the thing. We're only going to be able to run modules if we get at least 4 students in them, right? Because otherwise we're going to pay our faculty, right? So otherwise if we do like one-on-one tutorials, we're going to be taking a loss because our tuition's too low, right? So we need to have at least 4 students in a section in order to run it. So we have all of our modules out there. We're just instead of being like, okay, we're going to feed them to you in a row, we just put it out there, right? We put all of them out there and we let you guys choose. So you're going to be voting basically through your registration. You will get the modules list. You will make your selection in that first month. So in the month of October, people are going to be selecting modules for December. Then stage 2 starts, right? Stage 2 is preparing for launch. So that's what's going to happen in November. Right, in November, we're going to look at all of the selections, right, that people have made, and we're going to see which modules are we going to be able to run in December, right? So I'm sure, I'm not expecting all 32 of those modules actually to happen in December. They're all they're all available. We have preceptors standing by, ready to teach any of them or all of them. But I'm not expecting that that's actually going to occur. We'll see. We'll see which ones people choose. And so all of the modules that we have enough people for and that we can do, we're going to confirm this. So in November, we'll make an announcement and we'll say, okay, here's our confirmed modules list. That's why we call the initial list candidate modules. These are the candidates, right? So the modules I just described, those are the candidates for December. Any of them, all of them viable, all of them ready to go. But not all of them probably are going to run. So when in November we announce the confirmed list, then we finalize registration and settle down into those confirmed modules list. And then, of course, December, we begin the modules. So let me go through this again from the student perspective. So again, you're wanting to sign up, right? That was the overview. Here's your perspective. Step 1, You buy your tokens. That's the very first thing you do, because we're not even going to open the registration form to people who don't have tokens already, because it's going to be too confusing. We can't have people just being like, oh yeah, I kind of have a vague interest in taking this module. We have to make decisions on which ones we're going to promise to offer, right? So we're only going to be able to do that for people who have like signed up and bought their tokens. So you buy your tokens. After you buy your tokens, you're going to receive by email a selection form with all the modules in it, and it'll also have time of day, right? It'll have 3 options for times of day for each of the modules, so that you can rank which ones, how do you want to do them? Like, which times fit best for you, right? And so then we're going to look at all this stuff. We're going to look at the results of all the selection forms we receive from the people who have bought tokens, and we're going to make decisions, right? We're going to make decisions about which modules we're going to confirm, and we'll be announcing that in November. So step 3, we will notify you, right? We'll send you an email to say, okay, here are our confirmed modules that we're offering in December. Now, there's one of 2 possibilities for you, right? So you've signed up for one, right? And now we're sending you the confirmed module. So option number 1, the module you signed up for is confirmed. Great, you're registered. You're good to go. You're all set, right? And you're planning on December. But maybe the module that you selected wasn't confirmed. Maybe there didn't happen to be enough people who wanted to take that module this month, right? And so we're not going to end up running the one you selected. So we'll let you know. We'll let you know and say, okay, sorry, we're not going to be able to run that module this month, but what do you want to do? Do you want to switch to another one? This is why you should think about backups earlier on. So then you'll look at the confirmed list and say, like, okay, can I do one of those? Because it'll also have the days and times. When the list is confirmed, it'll have the days and times. So you'll be able to say, okay, can I do one of these? If so, great. Let us know which one you want to change to, and we'll put you in that one. Or maybe you say you want to wait. You're like, oh no, I'll see. Maybe it'll run next month, right? Maybe it'll run in January. So fine. You can do that. And then step 4, when your module starts, your token is officially used, right? So we kind of just keep track of your tokens. It's a kind of digital currency, right? So when you purchase your tokens, we will keep track of how many tokens you have in your bank, right? When you begin, like in December, when your module begins, we will, sort of tick off one of your tokens, but it won't happen until then. So if you select a module and then it, doesn't work, you don't have to worry about like getting a refund or anything like that. All your tokens will still be good for whenever you want to wait to do. We don't count your token until the thing starts. And then of course it started. Here's a kind of a calendar view, again, to sort of see how the 3-month cycle is going to be working. So again, we're offering our candidate modules. Those 32 modules I described are our candidate modules for December. We're announcing them here in October. In November, we're going to confirm. We're going to come up with our confirmed module list. So you should, if you are interested in participating in a December module, you should go buy tokens. And then we will, like this coming week, we will be sending you a registration form to be able to select your modules, so that in November we can choose our confirmed modules. And then of course they'll blast off there in December. And then of course in November, at the same time we announce the confirmed modules for December, we'll also announce the candidate modules for January, right? And so then in December, when the first modules begin, we'll be announcing the confirmed modules for January, and we'll be announcing the candidates for February. So you see how this cycle is going to be working, right? Now, I would also emphasize space tokens, I think, will make really awesome Christmas presents. It is very possible to gift a token. All you have to remember, as I say, tokens are like totally digital currency. So all you have to do is buy a token and then just send us an email telling us to whom we should credit that token, right? So we'll need a name and email. We'll need their email so that we can reach out to them and send them a thing, right? Send them a selection form so that they can choose their modules. So you just have to get in touch with us, give us the name and email of the person. I would recommend that you tell them so that they don't receive an email from us out of nowhere and think it's spam. So just a suggestion. Surprises are fun. And we can kind of try to coordinate a surprise, but anyway, you'll want to let people know. Anyway, okay. So that is, they totally fit in stocking Sparrow. You're absolutely right. So that is how the SPACE program is going to work. Kind of fun, right? I know the registration system is kind of complicated with the 2 phases and stuff, but you see how we've designed this in order to try to make it as student driven as possible. Again, we're not trying to channel you through a particular program. We just want to give you all the options, let you choose, and then do whichever modules students want to take, right? It's going to be all about meeting student desires. And by the way, on that selection form I'm going to be sending to people, we're also going to have a suggestions box for future modules that you want. Is there anything else you'd like us to offer? Let us know, and we'll look that up. Okay, I've gone ridiculously over time to probably nobody's surprise, but let me talk. So first, starting 15 to 20 minutes ago, is Sparrow's creative writing session. We're going to catch up is what's going to happen. You'll see. But anyway, yeah. So this is what's happening. So we're gonna transition in just a couple minutes to Sparrow's creative writing session. Then we're gonna do anime. We're doing fairy tales, hieroglyphics, and English sonnets. All 5 of these space capsules that you're going to be able to see today are previews of actual modules that we have on our candidate list for December. Okay, so very good. Quick questions that folks have. I've been trying to keep up with comments and questions as I've gone along, and I haven't seen anything kind of saved up. But if you have any quick questions, I can try to spend. I'm already late, so I might as well. So get quick questions that I can help with as I go. In for a penny, in for a pound. I agree. That's exactly it. Yeah. As far as the lateness is concerned. Anything I can clarify or clear up? Again, I recommend you look at the SPACE website. You can see full descriptions of all of our modules. You can see, it's got the tuition chart there. It's got the links to purchase your tokens to get, stuff started up. Yeah, good. So, Carrie, right now we don't have scholarship programs for the SPACE program. That's a little harder for SPACE. We don't have anything right now. It is possible that we might build something like that in the future, but not at the moment. Not at the moment. Now, for all of Signum, we do have our work study program within our master's degree and certificate program. So for our master's degree and certificate program, we do have the opportunity for folks to participate in our work study program, where you can work as Signum staff in exchange for courses, basically in place of tuition, and we've had a number of students do their whole MA program for either nothing or practically nothing. So the URL again for SPACE, Kira, is signumuniversity.org/space. That is what you can find and where you can find it. All right. Tomas is wondering, how adult do you need to be? Not very. Not very. It's sort of for grown-ups. But yeah. Tomas, I will admit to you, you're talking about your daughter being interested in Kelly's anime class. Yeah. not going to lie, I have some members of my household who are also going to be interested. I have no problems with this. Yeah. I'm thinking there are going to be some space modules on the wish lists of my own children as well, I suspect. Yeah. Anyway, so that's, I don't see any problem with that. Again, this is not a degree program. You know, there aren't prerequisites for it. I'd be a little uncomfortable with like a 7-year-old, you know, in these classes. But I do think that, you know, mature teenagers will do fine, I think, in our space modules. Okay. And yes, but if you do have minors, it's important for them to be supervised by their adults, by their adult supervisors. That's an important thing. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's it. That's all.